Hey, what's up, guys? John here. So, the largest landlord in America just made a pretty big statement, and so did Jerome Powell, and so did the UK. All these things happened today, and I think it's going to have a profound impact on the real estate market and the economy and affordability in this country and in the world. So, I'm going to walk you guys through exactly what's happening right now. The CEO of Invitation Homes, which is the largest landlord in America, they just purchased 1,500 homes. They just purchased 1,500 homes for $474,000 each, paying $656 million for these properties. Pretty substantial. But what they are saying right now is that they are in a problem area because they can't buy more properties. They want to buy more and more and more. And so since they can't buy more properties because there's simply not enough availability, they're literally partnering up with builders right now. They're partnering up with these builders, giving them contracts to build these homes. And they're building one of their contracts for 8,000 more houses. And so they're out there assigning builders these contracts to build these houses quick and fast. And so what I think is likely to happen here, not my opinion, this is what he said, is that 20% of gross monthly income is their traditional scope of tenant that they want. So if they're making $5,000 a month, they want that tenant spending $1,000 a month. So they want to have that margin of safety. Whereas, traditional, LA real estate, New York real estate, people might spend 50 or 60% of gross monthly income on rent. Well, that's how they're underwriting deals. They want to have a tenant go there and be able to really, really afford it, at least for now. That could change over the long haul as they, try to pull yield out of these buildings. But what's fascinating here is how all this kind of pivots with Jerome Powell's new statement. Jerome Powell said that they're now getting ready to raise rates and they're getting ready to shrink their balance sheet. And so what that's likely going to mean, it's going to be harder for middle-class Americans to purchase traditional single-family homes and investments. But with Wall Street firms like Invitation Homes, they have access to capital at rates that, traditional Americans will not. So for them to underwrite a deal that they're paying $474,000 for, a traditional buyer that would purchase that property would put 20% down, right? So they'd put, 50, 80, 100 grand down. So for that specific example, it'd probably be somewhere like 80 plus closing costs and 6 months reserves. They probably need 100 grand in the bank to really afford that property. And even then, they're probably going to spend $2,000 to $2,500 a month with all of their expenses in the property. When you factor in utilities, landscaping, mortgage, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, you put everything together, it's probably going to cost them close to $2,500 to $3,000 for that property. And so with Invitation Homes purchasing the property, they could borrow that money for probably 1%, and so they could be in at a substantially less monthly sum, and they'd be able to lease it out. And if we have inflation, kind of like what's happening in the UK is saying that the average basket of goods is up 20%, right? And so if they're borrowing money at 1% or 1.5%, and they're out there buying these assets, and we're getting hit with inflation at the levels that we are, for them, they're getting free money. They're getting absolute just free money. And so it's a very unique paradigm shift that we're seeing here, because we're also seeing oil almost hitting $100 a barrel. We're seeing a lot of uncertainty in markets. And what I think is very likely to happen here is that people are going to really look for safe places to allocate capital. They're going to look for ways to where they can preserve their purchasing power. And Wall Street's going to be doing that, I believe, through single family and multifamily real estate investing over the next couple of years. But what's also very fascinating, at the same exact time as Wall Street's intending to expand their reach in the single family market, we're also seeing home builders get hit with a couple different punches. The first is that it's costing about $19,000 more per single family home that they build. $19,000, that's not a small number, especially when a traditional home might be $350,000 or $400,000. So it's a substantial premium. Generally what they would have to do there is simply increase the cost of that property to offset the additional costs that they were faced to, or that they had to assume with building that property, right? But at that same point in time, mortgage rates are going up. And generally when mortgage rates go up, purchasing power goes down. So you have a situation where it's costing more to build homes, and buyers are going to have a harder time getting a hold of the financing to purchase that property. And now builders are also getting hit with massive delays, whether it be cabinets, whether it be air conditioning units. So they're holding these properties for a longer period of time. So they're holding the properties for a longer period of time. They're paying more to build it. and then they don't know if the buyer is going to be there. So what's happening is that home builders are starting to pull back saying, what is the future going to look like in, say, Q2 or Q3 of 2022? Could we see buyers simply just stay put? Could we see a lot of homeowners saying, you know what, I'm not going to do a HELOC. I'm not going to refi my property to purchase another house. I'm just going to let the money sit for now. We could see a whole new, I think, attitude towards the real estate market. And I think it's going to be really up to Jerome Powell and how they handle these increases over the next couple months, the next 6 months. But I do believe that there's going to be a really big opportunity in the short term for everyday Americans to kind of reassess and look at what's happening globally. What's happening is that these rising costs, I believe, are going to only continue. We're going to see these increases across consumer products and oil, used cars, everything is going to just likely continue going up, especially rents in areas like New York and California and some of these other expensive markets. Miami Beach, for example, the most expensive market in the nation now. You look at these markets, those are markets you probably don't want to rent in. And the reason being is because you do not want to get caught in a rent trap where you're making $100,000 a year and you're spending 65 or 70 of it in rent. It's not the place that people want to be. I believe the smart thing to do right now is to first off, you want to make sure that you watch that video that I did a couple days ago where I kind of go over what whitehouse.gov stated about the real estate market and all the markets that they intend to push these changes in. To watch these markets specifically, you can go online, you can look at these building code changes, you can get an idea of what it would cost to actually facilitate one of these transitions on one of these properties. But most importantly, if you find a really good deal in a really good market in an area that you really want to be in long term, you're renting right now, you're spending a ton of money in rent, it might be better off for you simply just to get out of that lease to purchase a triplex or a fourplex, owner occupy that property to where you can live in one unit, two of the other units can essentially pay for the mortgage on the property. One of the other units will basically put cash aside for any of these upgrades that you're gonna have to do down the line. And at least you'll be able to build out a moat of security, a moat of safety. Because if you want to transfer into a new job or you want to do something else, you at least have income coming in from those units. What you don't want to do, what no one should be doing right now, is thinking about renting for the long term. That should be the worst thing, because as we're seeing Wall Street, these corporations looking to expand their reach into single family homes, when they get a large chunk of the market, they essentially can control market prices. They can control rents. They can control how much homes are selling for. They can control a lot. We've even heard rumors of what Zillow is attempting to do here. So we really need to be careful, everyone that's renting, about the long-term aspect, long-term viability of what we consider safe. Renting long-term is probably not going to be safe. Being financially secure by owning your own rental property is probably going to be the best thing, but most importantly, you don't want to jump in onto a bandwagon of speculation, which we're seeing in the real estate market. Make sure you're investing in pure fundamentals. You understand the market, you understand the cost to rebuild that property, you understand the land value, you understand the rents that you can get around that area, you understand the taxes, the landlord-tenant law. All these things are so important for everyone to understand. I actually think now probably more than ever, because what we're seeing is the consolidation of the middle class through this massive land grab that's happening right now. These low interest rates, all it did was funnel the money straight from middle America to Wall Street. And these big corporations like BlackRock, Blackstone, they came out and said that they have so much money that they can't even use it. Like they have so much dry powder that they don't even know where to put it. So because everyone's just putting money in, all the institutional investors are accumulating the capital and they're looking to deploy it with someone that has knowledge and a track record, which is only a handful of really big firms. So that's what I think is very likely to happen. That's my advice right now, is to really pull back and reassess, pay attention to what Wall Street's doing, because I believe they are the ones that are really controlling the music here. But what do you guys think? What do you think about the housing market? What do you think about Jerome Powell, what he's doing with rates? What do you think about Invitation Homes? Where do you see the real estate market? Drop your comments below. Let's talk about it. Subscribe here. Consider subbing on my second channel as well. Also, TikTok for short form content. All right, guys. I'll catch you guys later. To learn more about investing into real estate and creating passive income as a landlord, click the link in the description below this video and check out my gold standard program, Cash Flow Rental Blueprint.